Do you know what else is crazy?
What's crazy?
Oh my God. Keegan Bradley didn't get picked to play in the Ryder Cup. Yeah. And then they said, I'll tell you what, make up for it. Do you want to be the captain so you can take the blame when Europe come to Bethpage and bend you over?
So for me, this is one of subtly the weirdest things that's happened this year as far as in golf. Because Keegan Bradley, just to put everyone in context, if you're not completely familiar with golf, you might be new to it or whatever, Keegan Bradley was one of the outside players to get into the Ryder Cup in Rome. He was on the bubble. There was a few around him who could have gone, who couldn't have gone. He'd won that year. He was in decent form, and he had an argument that he should have been on the plane. There were also arguments about him not going as well. It was very much the captain's decision, Zach Johnson, if he went or not. He ended up not going. Obviously, the US Ryder Cup team didn't win, ended up being a very famous victory for Europe. And then the recriminations started flying around, Keegan Bradley should have gone, all the rest of it. But it was more brought into sharper focus by the Netflix documentary, Full Swing, where they followed Keegan Bradley for the year. And you could just see how much he wanted to go. He was desperate. He was probably, I'm not going to say one of the few American players, but out of the American players, you can tell that it means more to him than maybe some of the others. And I don't you
could feel that on the show, couldn't you?
I don't think I'm being too kind of critical of other players in the US team to say that, I think Keegan Bradley would have wanted it a lot more than some of the players who went. I don't think that's too much of a controversial statement.
Cantlay, for example.
Yeah.
His entire time complaining.
Yeah, and and other stories keep coming out, in the meantime as well, like Xander the other day talking about things that, he just finds a bit kind of...
What was it? Something about because he's like a player, he'll understand what we kind of like to do, which basically just sounded like getting rid of all the mandatory meetings they'd have to do and all the the meals they'd have to do together. And
it was just at the Ryder Cup you got to do these things that don't make you got to go to these meals, and it's kind of like it felt a bit, come on, like
that sounds like someone who's not a team player.
It's just like, this is the Ryder Cup, this is once every 2 years. Sacrifice a chipping session to go have a meal. You're okay.
It's kind of the point as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The reason that historically teams that haven't done well are the teams that haven't eaten together and practiced together, and their wives are friends, and the cohesion of the team is a massive factor in whether you play well during the week. And Zach Johnson found that out firsthand when, the European team were all very close, had been practicing together, lots of great friendships, lots of great partnerships, and then took advantage of those things in the tournament and let those people go out and play together. And Zach Johnson just picked his mates. Well, this is what it seemed like. Obviously, we weren't there. But it felt like he picked his friends, lots of whom who weren't in good form, i.e. Justin Thomas. There was a couple of very strange ones, and then kind of just pushed them out. And his answer to questions was always, they know what to do. They're players. Well, that's not really how you win the Ryder Cup.
No, I mean, it's very easy I think it's very easy to say in hindsight the mistakes that were made as far as the US team goes. And it also should be stated that it's starting to fall into a little bit of a pattern now where the US wins at home, Europe win at home.
Yeah. And that's why this announcement to me feels even more strange, because they didn't... This feels like a move of a team that wants to change something because they're having a bad run of... this feels like a move of making him captain if they came to Europe. Of they just need to do something different and try something. But when they've been so good and so successful in America of what they've been doing and who they've had as their captains and the profile of the captain they pick, this kind of breaks the mold completely. And I get the whole, he's a Boston guy. He grew up there. He speaks about how he used to get onto Bethpage and run on and be able to break in on the course when he was at college and all this kind of stuff. He's from the area and all this kind of thing. But it just doesn't feel like a move they needed to make, if that makes sense.
No, it was quite strange as well, because Keegan Bradley came out and said, he wasn't consulted or kind of asked about this prior. It was just kind of a phone call said, oh, by the way, do you want to be the Ryder Cup captain?
Yeah.
which
And
seems very weird to me.
And apparently it was Zach Johnson who rang him.
It said, you were going to be the captain, but no, you're not. And then someone like grabbed the phone off Zach and said, just leave Keegan alone, please.
I think Keegan Bradley should, he has the potential to be a very good Ryder Cup captain. I think what he needs to do is not do what, Zach Johnson did, kind of, and just take all of his crony friends. As a protest, he should not take any of that lot.
At the moment, though, like with Keegan Bradley, he was on the periphery of the team in Rome. There's nothing to say that he wouldn't be able to.
He could have qualified this year.
Yeah,
he's still a top 40 player in the world.
It's not like he's past it. He's not like he's turning up and putting a few good performances in, but he's not kind of actively trying to progress to be one of the best players in the world again, like say Luke Donald, obviously. He was a fantastic Ryder Cup captain, and in the build up to the tournament was actually playing some decent golf. But he was like freed by it, he wasn't in contention for the team.
I don't have an aim to be in the team because I'm managing the team, kind of. Yeah,
exactly. He is very much in the autumn of his career now, whereas kind of Keegan might be moving towards that, but he's still a decent golfer. So it all seems like a little bit weird. It all seems very reactionary. It all seems like it feels like the golfing community has an opinion that we did Keegan Bradley dirty on the Rome Ryder Cup. Yeah. How are we going to make it up to him? Oh, let's guarantee he's there. How are we going to do that? Oh, we'll make him captain. Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it's like Zach Johnson's PR team were like, we've got an idea. We can get you in the good books of the press again. Stop swearing at fans and ring up Keegan Bradley and tell him he's the captain.
But I think they would have Zach Johnson has nothing to do with that decision-making process as far as I'm aware. I don't really know.
No, I can't imagine there's like a handoff process.
The PGA have got to be in charge of that. Huh?
Yeah.
There's a Ryder Cup committee and all the rest of it. It just feels a bit weird, and it feels very sudden. Like the announcement, it was like all of a sudden, Keegan Bradley is the captain. And it's like, right, okay.
And we knew that Luke Donald was going to go again because of how well he did in Rome. But does it feel like quite soon to be making that decision, or is that just me?
No, I don't think the timing of it really. I think the earlier you can do it, the better, because it just starts the process. But I don't know. I sometimes think as well, like how I got to think of when Keegan got this call, how he kind of perceived his chances, like you say, of going and playing. Like if he genuinely, and I'm sure he would have been in the mindset of being snubbed in the last one and thinking, right, I'm going to do that little bit more now to try and make sure that I'm playing at a golf club and a golf course in an area of America that I'm very comfortable and happy with. And maybe he feels that he was given this opportunity and that it was going to be his best chance to get involved and do, and be a part of a Ryder Cup that he probably was very, very keen to be involved with. Or he just sees it as an opportunity that he goes, I'm going to pick myself.
Yeah, because you can play captain, can't you?
Of course you can,
yeah. Yeah. So maybe he's in. Maybe he's just
flex.
He literally sees this as the best opportunity to play.
Put himself at number one.
I'll pick myself, thank you.
And I'm also going out first.
Yeah, I'm going to play every session.
That'd be so funny.
And it doesn't matter. I'm just going to play every single session.
I'm chopping it round, but I'm going back out.
Go back out. I've got it in me.
I'm going out. I'm going out in the winning team as well.
I think to the point as well, like with Europe, it seemed obvious that Luke would just do it again because of the reaction of Rome and because of the players were clearly just calling for it, and it obviously felt like a fairly easy decision to make. I think with the American captaincy, usually most years, like it is a guy that they just decide on. There's no sort of natural successor at any given point. It's either a guy that's done 3 stints as a vice captain and he's now in his 50s 60s and all that kind of sort of ticks off. That's usually the caliber of guy that they go for. I think it was Stuart Sink maybe the one who came out and said he was quite disappointed because he'd obviously done a couple of vice captaincies.
Well, he was vice in Rome and
but also as well, like with the Ryder Cup, like the person who's a Ryder Cup captain, you expect them to be like a bit more of a legendary figure within the game, but also like within the Ryder Cup. Keegan Bradley's been to a few Ryder Cups, but he's never. It's not like he's ever covered himself in massive amounts of glory when he's been there.
He still hasn't unpacked that bag, has he?
No, it's still there, stinking out of the garage. So it kind of feels a bit, I don't know, it just feels a bit strange to me. But I'll get down to the comments and let us know your opinion.
Thing is, I don't hate it, but I do sometimes love these kind of decisions. I like it out of the box, just no one was expecting, Kieran McKenna to Ipswich kind of vibe,
For God's sake.
Speaking of